Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.
In Yuba County, there's a legendary diner.
Oh, it looks delicious. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Where the parking lot tells a story. A story as simple as biscuits and gravy.
The food is good. The prices are wonderful. My dad has so many friends here that come here, and it's my dad and mom have known Mary Jane and her dad before Duke.
Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, home of legendary chili, holiday pies, and generations of local residents preparing tasty, hearty food for generations of local people. Join Mary Jane and her genial associates as they serve meals you'll come back for. Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, Olivehurst.
I have another transaction.
Okay, we're going to bring the meeting back to order. We have nothing to report from the closed session. And so we're ready for the consent agenda. Anybody have anything they want to discuss on there, or I'll hear a motion?
Move to approve. After a second.
Okay.
Just a reminder, I have to unmute your mics.
That was a move for approval. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Discussion item number 5. I think this is Sammy.
Morning, Chair Bishop, members of the board. My name is Sammy Nall. I am the Flood Risk Manager. And today I am here to discuss the adoption of resolution number 2601. And this is to approve a grant in the amount of $923,113. And this project this grant would be regarding the Marysville Ring Levee project, which is expected to provide at least 200-year level of protection to the Marysville area. And upon completion of the construction of this project, the Ring Levee will require 2 additional steps. The first one is for FEMA 100-year accreditation. And the second is the city of Marysville will need to make a finding for the urban level of protection urban level of flood protection based on the state's criteria of urban levee design criteria standards. This funding will provide for the engineering evaluation and the preparation of due diligence documentation to demonstrate that all of the applicable criteria for federal and state are met. And so if you, I have Jim Shad here if you have any specific questions, but I'm happy to take any.
Any questions from the board? Yep.
Someone from Marysville like to talk a little bit about this? Thank you. So,
Morning, Chair and Directors. Jim Shad, City Manager, City of Marysville. And Sammy did a great job of explaining the project, but I just wanted to thank everybody on the board and the Yuba Water Agency for supporting us in the levee research or certifications. As Sammy mentioned, both the state and federal are required. So this allows us to move forward, and without Yuba Water Agency support, it would be very difficult for Marysville to do this. So once again, I want to thank the board in advance for the support, and express my thanks from our mayor and council members as well.
I said a small question. In regards to, I think that you said 100-year certification. When do we hit 200-year certification, or what's that step that happens for that? Either one of the two of you.
So the 100-year certification is federal certification required by FEMA, and the 200-year is the state ULOP. We're doing the analysis and reports for both of them at the same time. As to the timing of when each will be approved, that's up to both the federal government and.
Okay, so this would lead to that same 200-year cert for the state. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Any further board questions?
Through the chair. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for the efforts to protect our Marysville citizens and making sure that the board here has the opportunity to help fund these projects that help our region big time. And sleeping good at night when we have these big storms, it's a real good reminder that, you know, we have these nice quality levees around us, and if we get the certifications that go along with all the work that's done, then we can have building in the future and more housing and things like that. Not so much in Marysville, but throughout the county. So thank you very much.
Any public comment? If not, I'll hear a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
All good. Okay. Then a year since today.
We'll read it. Okay. Right. Okay, item 6, I'm going to read. Mandy told me I'm supposed to do that. I'm new at this, so. Item 6 is consider adoption of resolution number 2026-02, approving a grant in the amount of $355,782 to North Yuba Water District for the Dobbins Oregon House Canal Wet Mixed Shot Creek project. This was recommended to go to the board as a discussion item by the POD committee on December 16th. Kyle.
This is a further shotcreting of the canal to reduce seepage. That way we can, North Yuba can continue to deliver water, more water farther down their system. And this is a 50-50 split. North Yuba will be covering half the cost, and we'll be covering the other half of the cost for this project work.
Do we have an estimate how much water it will save? Or?
I think it's a CFS or two. Half a CFS. But it's hard to tell. But we've delivered more and more and more. And we've done several of these projects now. Well, North Yuba has done several of these. Yeah, has done several of these projects, and they are delivering more to the end of the line and more to more customers every time we do this.
Yep.
from North Yuba?
Can we hear from North Yuba?
Yeah, Leon is here.
Thank you.
So this project is going to do just under a mile of shotcrete at the end of Dobbins Oregon House Irrigation District. We're expecting it to save at least a half a CFS. We've just completed our third full year of irrigation, which hadn't been done in a very, very long time, thanks to all your guys' help and through the past couple years. So this is just a continuation. We're trying to do our worst spots and save as much water as we can and deliver to as many customers as we can. Thank you guys for your support.
Any other questions from the board? Charlie?
I'd like to second it or make the motion, but wait till all the comments. But most importantly, over the last 3 years, the present board has done an outstanding job of delivering more and more water each year to customers in the upper hills, which then in turn makes things more fireproof. And I just wanted to compliment the board and the people up there for getting behind and doing it.
Okay, I'd like to ask for public comment. Is there any? None, so I have a motion and a second. Yeah, I have Director Matthews with the motion and Director Vasquez with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move to item number 7, consider adoption of resolution number 2026-03, approving a grant in the amount of $270,092 to Browns Valley Irrigation District for the capital improvement plan. This was recommended to go to the board as a discussion item by the Project Operations and Development Committee on December 16th. Kyle.
So this is continuing our help to the water supply agencies in Yuba County and trying to get capital improvement plans together. That way we can start to understand and schedule and know what's going to come before the board also, and also to set the water supply agencies up for the future. So this is a grant for BVID to assess the condition of the water system, assets, documenting deficiencies, estimating useful life, updating their GIS system, and upgrades and replacement projects necessary to continue their services. This is a planning grant for, it's 100% funded, and we have Kelly. So.
I'd like to hear from.
We have Browns Valley. Come in. For $270,000, you can.
Yes, good morning. Yeah, BVID, so this is for our capital improvement plan. It goes over everything that Kyle said, as long as, and the other part of it too is that we have requested that they look at other aspects where we can integrate more hydro into our system. So this will help BVID not only expand what we have, but also plan for future. One of the things that we look at now is not just today, but also 50 years in advance. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions from the board?
No. So moved.
Any public comment? Okay, I have a
second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Item number 8, consider adoption of resolution 2026-04, approving a grant in the amount of $188,290 to Hallwood Irrigation Company Flow Control Automation Upgrades Amendment. This was recommended to go to the board as a discussion item by the POD committee on December 16th.
So this is an amendment. So when this was grant was originally approved, was several years ago, and now that we've that they've gotten through, Hallwood's gotten through the permitting and the Bureau of Reclamation process, and they've actually gotten a bid to do the project, and we've hardened costs. The budget needs to be pushed just due to an escalation of construction costs over the last almost 3 years. But they do have a bid, and this is the cost to move forward. And basically the request today is just to cover that additional cost. The Bureau of Rec grant right now, I believe, is covering $440,000.
What was our original grant amount?
The original grant amount was 884, so half of it was 440,000, and the Bureau of Rec covered the rest. And now we're just closing that gap. And a part of that additional funding is also some contingency, just in case, there can be other costs, that we run into. That way we don't have to come back to the board. So we could not actually use all that.
Okay.
And Hallwood's here.
Through the chair, can we have
Yep.
Someone talk about that
Yep.
for us?
Good morning. My name is Mark Chanlis. I'm one of the directors for the Hallwood Irrigation Company. The funds that we're asking for today, the majority of those funds are contingency funds to help us get through our construction projects. Hallwood's a nonprofit irrigation company. We don't have large cash reserves on hand. So, and we've got 3 construction projects that are underway right now. And due to the time frame of these projects and inflation, the costs have increased some. Most of this money that we're requesting today is for contingency funds. And I will tell you that we will make every effort to build these projects economically and to not use the contingency funds, but get them back to the people of Yuba County. But moving forward, and we're in the middle of the projects, having contingency funds so that we can approve some change orders as we run into them is important to Hallwood and getting these projects completed.
Thank you, Mark. Any further questions from the board?
No, thank you very much.
Any public comment?
So moved. Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Item 9, consider adoption of resolution 2026-05, approving a grant in the amount of $244,065 to Hallwood Irrigation Company Prevention Phase 1 Amendment. This was recommended to go to the board as a discussion item by the POD committee on December 16th.
So this is similar to the previous item. This has gone to bid, a little bit more contingencies. I did want to highlight something that Mark brought up too, is currently we did an amendment adjustment for their Tiger Ditch project that's currently in construction. And they've already valued, engineered, and got a cost reductions in that bid price by $160,000-ish. So just wanted to highlight the responsibility and the care that our water supply agencies are taking with our funds, that they are being responsible, and we're trying to work with the contractors in every way that they can to not only, be responsible of the project, but of the costs and efficiencies. So that's just to kind of highlight Mark's comment. Same thing.
Yep, we'd like to hear from Mark again.
Yes, he can.
Okay.
I'd like to thank the board for continued support, and the arguments are basically the same. We're going to try to build these projects efficiently, and the contingency money is really valuable to us in case we run into.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board
So moved.
or the public?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, item 10 is consider adoption of resolution number 2026-06, approving an amendment to the Linda Water District North Beale Road Complete Streets Project Grant Amendment, CWP-LCWD-004, to extend the project area and increase the grant amount by $166,159. This was recommended to go to the board as a discussion item by the POD committee on December 16th.
So this is an extension of the current project that Linda Water is doing. The county asked them to extend another 2,300 feet of the current project they're doing while they're out there, while the contractor's mowed, to help reduce costs and be prepared for the next step for the county work that's going on out there. The total cost is $332,000, and Linda Water is going to split that cost with us for $166,000. But it's basically just taking advantage of contractors mowed. The county's going to need this work done and this extension to be done. So they're trying to just save money in the long term by getting this work done.
Okay.
Water here too. Yep. Here we go.
Good morning, directors. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to speak today. Good morning to you guys as well. As stated, Linden County Water District is looking for additional assistance to extend the project limits of a relocation project that was first commenced due to work that the the Public Utility District is doing to improve the stormwater infrastructure in the area, requiring that all utilities with assets within the right-of-way relocate. A lot of these projects and funding that comes to Yuba are unplanned by the district and the other surrounding districts. And so undertaking these costs to relocate infrastructures is a pretty huge lift. But the district is very happy that the Yuba Water Agency is willing to partner with us and a 50-50 cost share to help offset some of this cost. It's a huge benefit to the district as well as the ratepayers at the district. So we really appreciate your guys' assistance in this. My name is Javier Rios. I'm the district engineer for Linden County Water District.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from
Through the chair? Just a question. What's the area of the extension? I know it's Northville Road, but what's the cross streets there for 2,300 more square feet or 2,300 more linear feet?
So the cross streets is College View and Griffith.
Okay.
In between College View and Griffith.
Thank you, Javier. Appreciate you.
So moved.
I would just like to also comment, thank you to Linden County Water for stepping up and paying your half of the cost share of this, because it's really something that Public Works wanted to get done. So it's a benefit to not only to your ratepayers of ours, but your half to the county. So thank you.
Second.
Okay, any public comment? Mandy, did you catch who the motions came from?
A first from Director Vasquez and a second from Director House.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, item 11 is to consider approval of the audited financial statements for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, and that's Curtis.
Good morning. Good. All right, yes, good morning. Today we will review the annual audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. I have Justin Williams here from Munn CPAs. This is year 2 of our work with Munn CPAs. As you remember, last year we made a switch. The first year was a lot of learning and figuring us out. And this year, I think we definitely noticed a deeper dive in exactly what we were looking for in this annual audit. Before I turn it over to Justin, I did want to give a shout out to the rest of the agency financial team, Jack Winship, David Yang, and Natalie Mikulewski. A lot of the heavy lift for the prep for this audit was done while I was on medical leave. So a big shout out to those guys for keeping us moving. So with that, I'll turn it over to Justin, and together we'll answer any questions you guys have.
Good morning. As Curtis mentioned, I'm here to present the audit results for this last fiscal year ended June 30th, 2025. One thing I'd like to remind board members as well as members of management, the financial statements themselves are the responsibility of management. And it's our job as the auditor to come in and form an independent opinion on those financials to let the user of the financials know whether or not they're fairly stated. So that's the goal of a financial statement audit, is to form an opinion on your financials. So field work, we break up our field work when our team's actually at your offices into 2 different phases. The first phase was in July, our interim field work. A lot of what we do during this time is we're looking at your internal controls, looking at doing testing of those different controls and processes. We also do a lot of planning during this phase where we'll go back and look at board of director minutes since the last audit, as well as finance committee minutes as well, to interviews with management, certain board of directors as well. As far as the internal controls go, I listed 4 different areas that we look at. So we look at the revenue, receipts coming into the agency, disbursements, expenses going out. And as we go through each of these areas, things we're looking for are things like segregation of duties. You don't want one person to have too much control over a financial process. So we want those as segregated as possible. We also look at things like evidence of approval of transactions. So those are the types of controls we're looking for as we go through each of these areas. And then we continuing on, same with the HR function, hire, termination, payroll. Is that getting done timely? Is there an approval process in place? Is that documented? And then the financial reporting side of things, where we're looking at making sure bank reconciliations are being done timely, being approved, and then different financial reports are being provided to the finance committee and the board as well. Once the books are closed, and as Curtis and his team can attest, a whole lot of schedules are provided to us prior to field work. Our team comes out in October, and this is where we're testing the numbers. I think this is what most people think of. You think of an audit. It's testing the numbers, the balances at June 30th, as well as the activity throughout the year. And so I put some different types of tests we do. Cutoff testing is a big one. Oftentimes agencies are really good at doing day-to-day transactions throughout the year. You get to a cutoff period, in this case, June 30th. There's different types of entries that have to be done to make sure things are recorded in the proper periods. And so we concentrate a lot of our testing right around that June 30th time frame. Also do analytical review procedures. These are things like high-level tests. An example would be we do variance analysis, where we'll look at balances and accounts over several years to see if there's any unusual fluctuations or things we weren't expecting, and then we can dig in further. Also do things like ratio analysis, where we'll look at average salary per FTE or full-time equivalent, average benefit percentages per salary. So more high-level types of tests we do. And if there's anything unusual that we encounter, then we can dig in a little bit further. Confirmation of balances, that's another really strong audit test, where we send confirmations directly to third-party financial institutions. Yes, sir, question?
Confirmation of balances. The county has been behind in their interest payments. What type of notes did you put about that in the report?
Yeah, so that we had to wait on that information. So that was one of the last things that we were able to eventually get to be able to wrap up the audit. We had everything else done at that point, but once we get that final information, then we were able to wrap up the audit. Detailed transaction testing, that's another thing where we select transactions directly from your accounting system and then request the support for that to make sure that they're properly valued, classified correctly, et cetera. And then we prepare the financial statements and footnotes to make sure that they're presented in accordance with the GASB requirements, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and ultimately form our opinion then on the financials after that work. So to report the results of the audit, there are 4 different opinions, reports or letters that we provide. Audit opinion, that's the main one. That's our opinion on your financials, goes in the front of the financial statements. Also issue a government audit standards report, because obviously you receive governmental funding, so we have to do additional procedures related to that. And then 2 separate letters, a board communication letter and then our management. Go over the results of each of these reports. Again, the main one is our independent auditor's report. This is our opinion on your financials. There's 4 different types of opinions that an auditor can provide: unmodified, qualified, adverse, or disclaimer. Unmodified is what you want, and that's what we have here. It's a clean audit opinion on the financials, tells the user that things are reported correctly in all material respects. We spend about 1.5 pages to tell you that, but the main thing there is in the first paragraph now, it says that it's an unmodified or clean opinion. Good news there for sure. Next report we issue goes in the back of the financials, government audit standards report. The majority of the governmental auditing standards fall on us as the auditor. Our staff have to be trained to be able to do governmental audits. There's things that we have to have in our own internal control and quality control processes to be able to do governmental audits. The way that it affects you is if we were to encounter any major issues with your internal controls or any major findings that rose to the level of a material weakness or significant deficiency, they would get reported in this report in a specified schedule of findings. So if we don't have anything that rises to this level, then we can report them separately on a management letter. So good news here, no material weaknesses, significant deficiency, or compliance issues. Next letter, we issue our audit conclusion letter, board communication letter. In addition to our audit opinion, there's certain things we're required to communicate directly to you, and this letter accomplishes that. If there are any new accounting policies implemented, we're required to let you know that, and there was one, GASB 101. It's hard to believe we're up to GASB 101 now. But this was another change for your compensated absences that had to be done. Just another accounting change that the GASB issued. If there are any estimates in your financials, we're required to let you know what those are. Nothing unusual here. It's just the way that these particular numbers are calculated. They're considered to be estimates, but again, nothing unusual there. If we had any difficulties in performing the audit, this would be our opportunity to let you know. There could be things that maybe wouldn't ultimately affect our audit results or our audit opinion, but if there were significant delays in the audit, maybe if I was doing this presentation in April or May, this would be our opportunity to let you know we had delays because we couldn't get certain information, et cetera. But again, no difficulties there. If we had any disagreements with management related to accounting policy, accounting treatment, anything like that, this would be our opportunity to let you know there. We just had 2 audit adjustments. And so what audit adjustments are is when we're provided with your financials, your books of record, essentially at the beginning of the audit, if we have to make any corrections, they're called audit adjustments. We're almost always going to have a couple. So we had 2 here related to accrued payroll and accounts payable. We also had 1 past adjustment, which means it didn't rise to the level of being material, so we didn't record that one. So essentially just the two audit adjustments there. I mentioned earlier that if we had any major issues with your internal controls that rose to the level of material weakness or significant efficiency, those would get reported in that government audit standards report. If we have things that don't rise to that level, we can report them separately on this management letter, and we do have a few here. The first 3 are carryovers from the prior year. Our recommendation for the first one is to make sure you have a formal capital asset policy in place. The next 2 really are related to limitations with the accounting system. They're the fund numbers. It's just difficult for finance to be able to segregate funds the way that it's being done in your accounting system. And then also due from balances between the funds have accumulated over time. These 2 will take a while to ultimately be resolved. It's difficult to separate those out. Ultimately, that would have to be with implementing new accounting systems, but again, more of an accounting issue. General recommendations here. And then that last one, accounts payable, this was the result of those audit adjustments. I mentioned earlier, we concentrate a lot of our work on cutoff testing right around June 30th. And we had a couple items that crossed over the June 30th time period that should have been broken out. And those resulted in those 2 audit adjustments. So our recommendation here is that an analysis of that is done at the end of the year before giving us the trial balance for the audit. Again, not that these aren't important. They definitely should still be considered and attempted to be rectified by finance, but they definitely don't rise to the level of material weakness or significant deficiency. So in summary, good news here, unmodified opinion on the financials, no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or compliance exceptions. Had the 2 audit adjustments and then the 4 management letter comments. So overall, very good audit results. And as Curtis mentioned, I do want to thank him, Curtis and Jack, David, the rest of the team. It takes a whole lot of work for these guys to ultimately end up with good audit results like this. I mean, we have a team of 5 to 6 people testing for a whole week and pulling multiple samples, and to end up with audit results like this really says a lot about the quality of the work that they do. I'd like to thank them.
Okay, any board questions?
Through the chair. So just a comment, not a question. Really appreciate the presentation and the thoroughness and the explanation of the various things, especially the summary slide. I think that was especially helpful at the end after you'd kind of gone over everything. And props to Curtis and the team for a great audit. So thank you.
Further from the board? If not, any public
to approve.
Any public comment?
Yeah, if I could. The management letter, there are a couple of carryover items. I did want to address those and set an expectation. The ones that were going to take a while. We are going through an ERP system update this year. that will accelerate how quickly we can respond to that. It'll allow us to restructure the chart of accounts, split the funds. The due to fund balances will be much easier to handle. So expect that to drop off after the implementation of the ERP update. I did want to set that expectation.
Okay.
I'll just make a comment here that different boards that I've been on, I've learned that it's just absolutely critical that the board can trust the people that work in finance. And Curtis, you and your team are, top notch. And so it just makes a board member's job really easy when we see that work that goes in. We hear what the auditor says, and so yeah, congratulations on a great audit. I think I heard a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking forward to hearing on item 12 from Carl Parker and Casey Peterson about the progress of the tunnel outage project.
Guys, I'm Casey Peterson, one of the project managers for the Colgate Tunnel and Pinstock outage.
Carl Parker, operations manager, but I've taken on the role of tunnel outage coordinator.
Just going to give you an update on how the project is going. So we successfully drained the tunnel and penstock system in October, and then we were able to hand the system over to the contractor, which is Drill Tech Obiashi Joint Venture, on October 18th. Their first work activities really focused around gaining access into the tunnel with two primary entrance points, which are on the far upstream side of the tunnel as well as the surge chamber. On the far upstream side of the tunnel, they had to remove a pinstock section that is designed to be removable, but it did require them to design and fabricate a jack and roll system, which is basically a custom fabricated steel cribbing on top of two C channels that were able to jack the pinstock section up and then get it out of place for the duration of the outage. The contractor also utilized aggregate to create a work pad up in this area to help facilitate construction and provide an area for equipment and material laydown. At the beginning of the tunnel, there is a steel line section that's circular. So in order to get equipment and personnel in through that area, they utilized crane mats to create a little access road. And so you see that picture down at the bottom left picture shows that. And then the bottom right picture shows equipment exiting out of the tunnel, so you can see kind of what that looks like for the egress there. At the surge chamber, they made a surge chamber cover that accommodated two ventilation fans to be able to work safely inside of the tunnel. And that also includes a door so that they're able to rappel both equipment, materials, and personnel down through the surge chamber to get to the tunnel. And this is towards the downstream end, so it's nice having the two access points for the two far ends of the tunnel. So the first thing that we did once entry was established was perform a tunnel inspection. So the tunnel inspection, it was 4 full days of day shift inspections with 11 personnel attending each day of the inspection. The group of 11 primarily consisted of geologists from the engineer of record team through COE International. And so a couple of things that we saw, generally the tunnel is in great condition. Stability wise, it looks great. So the amount of shotcrete that we're adding inside the tunnel has greatly decreased from what we anticipated. The rock dowels, we are installing about 95% of the rock dowels that the contractor procured, and that's mainly to, even though it's in perfect condition, or not, near perfect condition right now, we want to make sure that it's also able to stay in operation for at least 50 years was the criteria that we've been working with. So that's why we're still going ahead and installing those rock dowels, just making sure that everything's shored up. It also decreases the amount of material that has the opportunity to make its way down to the rock trap. So some pictures from the inspection. The top left photo is of the 12-inch drainage pipe that's utilized to depressurize outside of the surge chamber when we drain the tunnel. And that pipe we're currently utilizing to control the seepage water and get that out of the tunnel and out of the construction zone. And it's been working really well, and that pipe is in really good condition. So that was one of the unknowns that we weren't sure how that was going to look going into the outage. The second picture, moving over on the top, is a small debris pile that was found where spot bolting is recommended to just make sure that the rest of the rock slabs stay in place. There was only maybe 2 or 3 areas that had little piles of debris like this, so it was very insignificant, and so we're just getting ahead of the problem, making sure that everything stays in place there. The next picture over is a defect in a concrete lined section on the invert, so we're getting that cleaned up and repaired to make sure that none of that material lifts up over time and ends up in the rock trap. The bottom left picture shows some railroad ties on the tunnel invert, which I thought was pretty cool. It's likely due to from the 1974 repair, where they repaired a tunnel collapse shortly after the commissioning of the tunnel. And then speaking of the 1974 repair, the next picture in the middle of the screen, that it's hard to tell in the tunnel. Obviously, it's not great lighting, but it's a shotcreted area where they repaired that rock fall. And the engineers, they suggested to add another layer of shotcrete here because over time the cement slowly starts leaching into the water. So we're just adding another layer of about 3 inches of shotcrete just to make sure that all of that stays in place. But stability-wise, the repair is actually holding up super well and it looks really good. And then the last picture on the right, that's just a general photo of the tunnel to give you guys an idea of just the size of it and what it looks like in there. And then on the top right of the screen, that's a screenshot of the tunnel repair plan. So the engineers of records, after the 4 days of inspection, they spent about 2 days of post-processing. And so they made an Excel sheet with various stationing and the different types of repairs that they recommended throughout the 5 miles of the tunnel. They prioritized them high, medium, and low, but the high, medium, and low is very relative. Technically, we don't have to do anything in the tunnel, and it would be fine. But like I said, we want to ensure sufficient functionality through at least 50 more years of operation. So that's why we're going ahead and installing these reinforcements. So the tunnel work, it's progressing really well. On the far left, and this should be a video, that shows the rock bolter in action. We have about 3,000 rock bolts currently installed, and the rock bolter is wrapping up their work. On the top left picture shows the equipment staged at that 1974 repair area, being ready to apply shotcrete, and that is now completed. The top right picture shows some debris removal efforts on the invert of the tunnel, making sure that we get all that out there, increasing the time that the rock trap is able to have capacity for more material coming down. The bottom middle picture, that shows a completed section with shotcrete and rock dowels. And that's on the far upstream end of the tunnel. And the far upstream end of the tunnel on the invert, we're also doing a repair. We're cleaning some material out and putting in some rock dowels and mesh with a layer of concrete for basically erosion protection. So we're putting in a lot of effort to make sure that we improve the transition basically from the steel line section into the tunnel on that upstream side. They should be completed with that in a matter of a couple days by the end of the week. And then the far right picture over here shows a white drainage pipe where so the concrete line sections, the bottom elevation of those are a little bit higher than the unlined sections. So water does pool up in those unlined sections. So that pipe is just showing them conveying water, dewatering those sections that they're working in, the unlined portions of the tunnel. For the rock trap, so we've completed cleaning out and refurbishing the rock trap. We were able to remove 4,500 cubic yards of material from the rock trap. We were anticipating closer to 3,500, but the rock trap it was deeper than we thought. So the drawing showed about 12 feet deep, but in reality, they're about 15 feet deep. So we'll make sure to document that and make sure that moving forward that we have a good understanding of the depth and capacity of these rock traps. So the percentage of how full the rock traps were, we were pretty accurate on the percent full, just not the total quantity since we didn't know that they were that deep. So here's some before and after pictures of the rock trap being cleaned out and refurbished. Down here, we're not sure exactly when. It might have been for the 1974 repair. They cut in a hole for a submersible pump into the rock trap. So we went ahead and covered that with some more decking to make sure that the rock trap functions as designed. And then on the left side of the screen, you can see, so they're pulling the muck from the rock trap up the surge chamber, and they have a temporary stockpile, and then they're moving that debris from that temporary stockpile over to the established spoils pile nearby. This is a video running them by skid steer to get the tunnel debris into the muck bucket. Yeah, it's also show why it's such a time consuming effort, because that little skid steer takes quite amount of trips to get all that material. Over for the Colgate penstock shutoff valve modifications, the first step there was cutting out the existing penstock section to be replaced with a new, more robust penstock section. That effort went well, and quickly after, they started preparing the foundation for the thrust block, as you can see in the bottom left picture. The thrust block itself, we're pursuing phase 1 during the outage, so only up to the existing grade, and then we'll be doing the above ground portion following the outage. So this phase 1 of the thrust block, it was poured in 3 lifts, in addition to a separate lift for a new penstock piers to hold the new section in place. That work has been completed. And then last week, we successfully transported the penstock sections from the storage area down to the project site. And that went well. Everything is fitted up, and we started welding on Monday. So efforts are progressing really well over there. On the right side of the screen, you can see a small section of penstock with the vacuum valve piping. So part of the modifications include relocating all the vacuum valves to the downstream side of the valve, where previously we had some on the upstream, some on the downstream side, which was inadequate for the functionality of the valve. So that required them, the contractor, to make some penetrations into this small penstock section to accommodate the valves that are being relocated. When they were cutting those penetrations, they did find a delamination in the steel, or basically a really, really thin air bubble in the steel. So the mechanical subcontractor cut that out, and they were able to come up with a creative solution and utilize the piece of material that they removed for the penetration and cut the rectangle from that piece to do a weld repair on that delamination. And that way the material, it was already the perfect curvature that it needed to be, as well as the correct thickness. So I was impressed with the team's creative problem solving for that one. And then down at the water treatment plant, things are going well there. So on the top right, we have a really nice overview picture of the entire system. There's 20 Baker tanks and 20 sand filters. And the reason that this system is so huge is we wanted to make sure that we could accommodate a fluctuation in flow, since going into it, this was another big unknown going into the outage. We started off seeing seepage water at about 2,000 gallons per minute, and it stabilized after a week or so, and it stabilized down to an average of about 500 to 700 gallons per minute, which is pretty reasonable, and the treatment system has been working well, even with the shotcrete efforts going on, and they've been doing good at controlling the pH and making sure that we maintain our discharge requirements there. That's all I have for the tunnel and penstock work. And
I was just going to report on the plant work. So while all this tunnel work's been going on, the Colgate powerhouse has been shut down. And so we've accomplished quite a bit of work. So we've had some major projects that can only be done with the penstock drain. So we did all the work on the TSVs, separated the control systems from 2 units, installed brand new 125 volt switchgear, DC switchgear, which gives us a lot more redundancy in the plant. Pulled out the old equipment, put in space for further growth. Well, all that project work has been completed. So we're back to kind of a normal outage kind of posture, small little projects and just routine maintenance work are on schedule to be able to bring units back with this project as well. Everything's going really well.
Go ahead.
Do we have a scheduled tour for the board?
that is something we're working on.
Only every 50 years.
Yep.
Yep. We are hearing that things are going well. If possible, we will try to accommodate some type of board tour.
Great. Thank you.
And just to remind you, at the beginning of the outage, I told you like every hour is consequential, but we are slightly ahead of schedule, so we'll see what we can do.
Great. I had a question. Casey, you mentioned the last portion of the thrust block will be done later on, so then we won't be able to actually test that valve for a while then.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. Under the Drill Tech Obiashi joint venture contract, they have, so the thrust block, there's 3 phases. So they're doing phases 1 and 2. 2 is basically a U shape above the pin stock without actually encasing the pin stock itself. And that way we can monitor for settlement and make sure that we don't cause any deflection in the pipe. And that can be anywhere from a couple months to a couple years. That's the big unknown time frame. That's why we're likely going to handle that under a separate contract while we wait for everything to settle. And then we'll fill in that middle portion, and then we'll be good to go for testing.
Great. You did the last tunnel outage in, say, the 70s, so the dam was only 5 years old. How much material did you take out in that first 5 years against what you took out in the next?
Yeah, so at least in the reports, they said that the first 2 rock bays were filled. So for reference, there's 12 bays in the total rock trap. So they cleaned out the first 2. And then for this outage, there's about 80% of the whole rock trap was filled. I'll give you a little bit of reference. But the theory is that they didn't do a comprehensive cleaning effort after that 1974 repair, and that's why we're seeing so much material in the rock trap now, too.
So you're saying in 74 they didn't completely clean the rock trap out?
They did, just not the invert. Yeah, so the theory is that they didn't clean the invert all the way, so that material slowly over time has traveled its way into the rock trap. So we're essentially cleaning debris from the 74 repair, but not what's pre-existing in the rock trap from 74.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further questions from the board?
Just my typical board comment. I know how much it takes to run a power plant and do the maintenance there. So if you could give your team a kudos on having such a successful outage just on the plant side, and same thing for the contractors. Thank them for the safe work. And I used to work for a really big company, and you'd take down a big project and there'd be mitigated risk, and you'd have acceptable injury rates and things like that. So it's a completely different culture to just hear how successful this group is. So thank them for it.
Absolutely.
Willie?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. First, I want to thank Casey and Carl for the presentation and all the success here. But I want to point out one investment this agency is making, not in financial terms, but in kind of longevity of talent. Carl, I'm not trying to discriminate against you, but I'm going to call out the youth that we have working on the project. Casey's here. I don't even know that Casey's 30 years old.
I'm
Yeah.
close.
So Casey's been leading this effort. She's 29 years old. She's been with us for 5 years or so.
6.5.
6.5 years. Time flies. And Aaron Esselman, who's not here today, is in his early 30s, and he's the engineer that's been working on that penstock shutoff valve. He's probably up there working on it right now because they're kind of in the middle of the welding of the joints. But I just wanted to point out that you don't go through a tunnel outage very often. We've drained the tunnel. This is the 3rd time in 50 years. And we have our young, talented engineers, neck deep in this thing, no pun intended, but they'll know this tunnel. They'll know all the records. I mean, Director Matthews just quizzed Casey about what happened in 1974, and she quickly rattled off, the records that she's researched and kind of knew what was going on there. So not only are you investing in the upgrades and the maintenance to the tunnel, but you've got some engineering talent here that I hope will stick with the agency for decades. So I wanted to point that out.
I'm also only 29, so I'll be around too for a while. Thank you both, and congratulations on how everything's going so far, and we'll keep our fingers crossed it keeps going that way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 13 is consideration of adoption of resolution number 2026-07, approving a joint powers agreement to create the Yuba-Water Construction Authority. Willie.
Yeah, so we're asking you to create this construction authority. This would be a joint powers agreement, or JPA, with the county of Yuba. The reason is so that we can use a fairly new procurement method called Construction Manager at Risk, or CMAR. I'll refer to it as CMAR throughout this discussion. CMAR is a competitively procured contract that provides both construction management and general contractor services while providing a guaranteed project cost. And this approach is expected to reduce overall project costs and risk while improving coordination during the design phase. The The reason we have to create the JPA is the authority or the statute that created this procurement methodology is allowed to be utilized by counties, county boards of supervisors, or boards that are made up of the county boards of supervisors. And the project has to be over $1 million. But because our board is the county board of supervisors +2, we're not directly allowed to use CMAR. But the solution is if we create a JPA with the county, then we can utilize that JPA to implement projects utilizing the CMAR procurement methodology. So what we're proposing here is a JPA with Yuba Water Agency and the county so that we can implement projects under CMAR. Our plan is to utilize CMAR. Our first project would be use it for the Nature Like Fishway and see how it goes and see if we can utilize it in future projects as well. Again, this is intended to primarily save project costs by utilizing this procurement methodology. The governance will be, once you have the JPA set up, the governance will be the Yuba County Board of Supervisors. They would be the governing body of the JPA. However, the agency will maintain primary control over all the work through individual project agreements. So the water agency would have an agreement with the JPA to initiate any project. So for example, on the Nature Like Fishway, we'd have a specific project agreement between Yuba Water Agency and the JPA to implement the Nature Like Fishway. And the water agency would be responsible for all of the financial liabilities. And then upon completion of the project, so the project would be constructed, and I'll use the Nature Like Fishway as an example. The project would be constructed through a contract from the JPA, but then when it's done, the JPA hands ownership of the project back to Yuba Water Agency. So it's like a temporary structure. So we're here today to ask you for approval to create the JPA, but we're taking the first step. The water agency is taking the first step to create the JPA. The county they're proposed to take action next Tuesday to do their side of creating the JPA. And then we would have, if the county does approve it, we would have our first meeting following our board meeting on January 20th.
Any questions from the board? Any comments from the public? If not, do I hear a motion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. And we're ready for the manager's report.
All right, well, I want to start off my manager's report by thanking our grantees. Some of them have left, but I'm going through the grants you all approved previously in the board meeting here. And there's 6 total grants. One is directly benefiting or improving flood risk for the city of Marysville, and the rest are water supply grants. And our grant program has evolved, and our primary mission is flood control and water supply, and that's directly where you guys are investing your money. And our partnership with these entities is evolving with our program, and their sophistication is getting much better. Their project identification and alternatives analysis and capital improvement plans are evolving. And when they come in here and Kyle or Sammy present the projects, they make sense, they've been well vetted, and it looks like the partnerships and the collaboration are working really well. And I just want to thank the grantees for bearing with us as we evolve this grant program and working with us to make these great investments in Yuba County. So, that was just great success to see those grants. And this is just one example of the grants we give out throughout the calendar year. So thank you for that. I also want to tell a little story. I mentioned Aaron Esselman, the engineer that's working on the Colgate penstock shutoff valve. I was up at Power Systems facility last Wednesday, which was New Year's Eve, working, doing my normal meetings, stuck in front of a computer screen. And I kept getting these texts from Aaron of photos of that penstock section being set in place and the valve being mated up with it. And they were about to align the studs into the flange of the valve. And you could just tell Aaron was excited. He's just like, this is the moment of truth for his part of the project, right? He's been nervous and worried about this for months, years, really. And I texted him back and said, how long are you going to be there? It's like 3:30. And he goes, I'll probably be here until 5 or 6. I said, I'm on my way. It's only 15 minutes from Power Systems up to the project. So I got to witness the moment of truth when they actually put the studs into the flange and they're actually ratcheting them in and adjusting things and getting it in place. And he didn't literally have a smile on his face, but you could just tell that he was ecstatic that it all lined up right and went well. And I just want to let you know the enthusiasm this team has for this project is amazing, and it was fun to go see that moment of truth there. So just want to let you know I actually have visited the site twice since the tunnel's been drained, only twice, but I do get up there from time to time, and it's been a great success. Okay, on to my standard report here. As you know, we've experienced some significant precipitation in the last 3 weeks. We went from pretty wet beginning in November to that fog, 3.5 weeks of fog where it wasn't looking good in December. And then we saw the storm door open in mid-December, and we've got somewhere around 25 inches of precipitation since December 16th in the watershed. And that's been great for storage. Bullards has been spilling since Saturday. We're under the flood pool by about 27,000 acre feet, but the operation plan is to, now that we see a dry period coming up for a week or 10 days, we'll slowly bring the level of the reservoir up to the flood pool and then kind of maintain that space and see what the rest of the season brings. So I won't go through the numbers here, but the water supply is looking good so far. The only slight weakness we might have is a lot of this precipitation was warm. The snow level was pretty much above 6,000 feet in elevation for the duration of the storms. The tail end of the last two pulses coming through was lower, about 5,000 feet. So we're about 70 to 80% of snowpack year to date, but overall, Bullards is looking good and the water supply is looking good. Okay, on to the stuff Carl talked about, some of the work going on in the plant. PG&E has a major relay upgrade project going on in the plant. Their schedule has been critical to our return to service. All of that work is going well. They took part of the holidays off, but they're back at work on that relay upgrade project now, and our electricians and electrics are helping with that. The comms team's been working on communications upgrades as part of this plant maintenance. Carl mentioned the major amount of work that the crew's been doing to primarily the turbine shutoff valves in the plant. This is major work, like he mentioned, that can only be done with not necessarily the tunnel dewatered, but at least the penstock dewatered. But no matter what, you got to do it when both units are shut down. So they got a bunch of that work done, and now they're on to kind of just their normal annual maintenance. So all of that is going really well. Narrows 1 and 2 are both online, and Englebright's been spilling, significantly the last several weeks off and on based on the pulses of the storms. You'll see kind of some new charts in your hard copy of your report here, but it's basically saying that our water supply based on the precipitation is really good, at least at this point in the year. And finally, on our communications update, we were mentioned in connection to a great story the Sacramento Bee did, marking the 70th anniversary of the 1955 flood, calling out that our agency was created because of it, and their website features a video interview with Chad Brown, our senior operator, who's sitting in for Carl right now as the ops manager, and talking about how we manage the water. CBS 13 covered us twice last week, once on New Year's Eve, sharing our press release about opening the spillway gates at Bullards, and then they did a deeper dive on Friday, interviewing Sammy about how we manage water and the kind of decisions that go into opening the spill gates. The Appeal Democrat and Yuba-Net also included information from our release about spilling at Bullards. The Appeal also included us several times in the Year in Review article, highlighting some of the big grants we issued throughout 2025. And they previewed today's meeting and the grants that were on our agenda today. Over the holidays, we had 2 major social media engagements that are worth pointing out. One marking the 70th anniversary of the 1955 flood, which received 144 comments and was shared by 500 people. And then one marking the anniversary of the 1997 flood, which was shared 300 times and had 109 comments. And those numbers are only looking at Facebook, so there's other social media engagement above and beyond that. And this really shows that those floods are seared into the memories of people who lived through them, and they are still very concerned about flood risk. On the sponsorship side, we approved a sponsorship for the Olivehurst Junior Blazers football and cheer program. And our upcoming meeting is a regular board meeting on January 20th. As I mentioned, we'll have the Yuba Water Construction Authority meeting, if the county approves that next Tuesday. And we'll have a changing energy generations market and opportunities ad hoc meeting on the 20th as well. And that's all I have.
As a question, the size bolts that you were talking about lining up, you know, as farmers go up to an inch or an inch and a half bolt. What size bolts were involved in that?
Ian, you got that? Like, they're larger than an inch, I'll tell you that. They're one? Charlie, I'm just going to guesstimate they're inch and a half. I watched the guys put them in. They're monster bolts. I mean, it's a
yeah. I thought they were
guy putting it on his shoulder, setting it up in there. It's not, you know, they're large.
We'll measure them on our tour.
There you go. Bring your calipers.
All right, we're ready for director's reports, and just to show John, I won't forget about him all the way down there on the end. We'll start with John.
So my only report is I'd like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to be the chairman for the last 2 years. I would have loved to stay the chair forever, but I really feel it's great for our board to roll through and have other people be chair and vice chair, and so everybody has a chance and learns that role. So just like to thank you guys for your confidence in me for the last couple of years. I'm going to sit down here and try to keep my mouth shut this year and not overpower you, Wayne. How's that?
All right. Charlie.
I would like to very much compliment Director Messick, as another director, because I think he's done an outstanding job over the last 2 years. Also, just as an item of societies, the Swan tours, I think there's only 2 left. Fish and Game puts them on every Saturday. They start out at our rice dryer, and the Fish and Game people come up on Saturdays and put them on for the people. I think it's a great wildlife experience because people come all the way from Southern California to see them.
Gary?
Just want to thank Director Messick for his 2 years of chair. He did a great job, and congratulations to our new chair and vice chair.
Andy?
I'd like to thank the chairs for the past 2 years. They've done, I think, a better job than most. And I look forward to next year. It's my last year. I'm 78. So this is it. Not running for election anymore.
Yeah, just a couple items. I definitely still want to get an update on the green waste facility progress that's going on up in the foothills. I've had some people reach out to me about labor reporting and things like that are going on up there, and it's just an area of concern for me as a county supervisor and as a board member that we're doing things the right way, or we're supporting people that are doing things the right way. And then I just want to thank John again for his service for the last couple of years, and he came on pretty new as a chairman of the Yuba Water Board, and I think he did a phenomenal job. So thank you, John. Congratulations.
Seth?
Couple of things. We mentioned the 2 feet of water that we just recently received. So of course we have localized flooding in my district. And so we need to continue to work on that flood control because that is part of our agency act. And then we also, I believe, do some funding to prevent damage to levees because of the homelessness issues and getting into the walls of the levees and digging in. And so we do funding there. There's going to be an increase in homelessness. So I think that we need to look at some ways to do some more funding to prevent that damage, because again, that goes under our flood control mandate from the Agency Act. And so I look forward to talking to you about that and see what we can do to reduce that problem. And then I assume we're going to close in honor of La Malfa. So that's already taken care of.
Yep. I'll just say that I just want to thank my peers for this opportunity to chair the board, and I hope I can do it as well as I've watched John and Gary do it. And I view it as my responsibility to try to use our time efficiently at meetings and and just be a helper in guiding this ship that's already going in a great direction. And so I'm looking forward to doing that. I hope I can live up to expectations. And with that, we do want to adjourn the meeting in memory of Doug LaMalfa, longtime congressman. The meeting adjourned.
Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.
Hi, I'm Neil Goforth of Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties. Caring for elders or even yourself has challenges. Comfort Keepers
in Yuba County
of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties can help you address today's issues and plan for tomorrow with in-home and specialized care for you or your family members. Call us at 530-749-8800. Comfort Keepers of Yuba, Sutter, and Nevada counties.
In Yuba County, there's a legendary diner.
Oh, it looks delicious. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
Where the parking lot tells a story. A story as simple as biscuits and gravy.
The food is good. The prices are wonderful. My dad has so many friends here that come here, and it's my dad and mom have known Mary Jane and her dad before Duke.
Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, home of legendary chili, holiday pies, and generations of local residents preparing tasty, hearty food for generations of local people. Join Mary Jane and her genial associates as they serve meals you'll come back for. Duke's Diner on 7th Avenue, Olivehurst. At 6 o'clock, and the Yuba City Council also at 6 o'clock. Then at 8 p.m. Thursday, the Yuba City Unified School Trustees have a special meeting. That's happening this week, right here on Yuba-Sutter.live.
Yuba-Sutter.live. It's the truth that comes through.